So, hello everyone, hello once again, and welcome to this masterclass on 6 incident management hacks to implement using ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. My name is Leanne Gordon, and I'm a marketing analyst at ServiceDesk Plus. And I'm real glad that you decided to join us today for this masterclass. And I hope that you're all keeping well and keeping safe, and that 2021 has been good to you so far. And for today's session, I really hope that you will learn something new, a bunch of tips and tricks, some new features and functionalities that you can take back and implement in your IT service desk to improve your IT incident management game. An incident is an interruption that causes an impact on business, and you're absolutely right. An IT incident is indeed any interruption that causes an impact on business, and therefore you cannot handle business continuity. So, we all know what an incident is now. So, today we are going to be talking about tips and tricks on how we can handle these IT incidents effectively in our service desks. So, we are not going to be talking about the incident module in detail, but rather we are going to be looking at some of the features and functionalities that we may have missed previously or probably are new, and see how effectively we can incorporate those in your incident management workflows. All right, let's move on. So, I don't know if you're already familiar with Zilker. So, let me introduce Zilker. Zilker is a fictitious organization that we have been using for a couple of years now for our presentations, and we have come to fall in love with this organization. And today, we are going to help them improve their IT incident management game using Service Desk Plus Cloud. Okay, so what is Zilker? Zilker is an advertising company that creates personalized advertisements and creatives for client organizations. Now, because of the current situation that's existing worldwide because of the pandemic and everything, all the members of the company, all of Zilker's members are working from home, including their IT support team. Now, isn't this the scenario or isn't this the situation for almost all of us today? We as teams are staying at home and working from home, and we are trying to get in touch with our colleagues. We are trying to discuss things over phone calls, emails, and this is a situation that's happening around the world. So let's see what are some of the few challenges that IT support teams and end users face in general because of this situation. So when it comes to Zilker, they adopt a very simplistic approach to managing their incidents. So their only channel of communication is email, and they are unable to connect with their teams or with their end users on this particular day. Their email goes down. So now, with the only means of communication that they had taken away from them, there's absolutely no way they can communicate with their teams or keep tabs on their existing tickets and tasks. And they are unable to access shared resources on the network. They probably have books and knowledge bases full of information and resolutions. But on this particular day, they are not able to access any of those resources to help them combat this issue at hand. And they do not have insights into their performance because all they have is groups and groups of data, but not an analytical tool that can actually take this data and analyze it and give them results. And lastly, they do not have organized workflows to handle their incidents, and this have allowed tickets to fall through the cracks. Now, aren't these the challenges that many IT support teams face today and many end users also? So today we are going to be seeing how we can use Service Desk Plus to help Zilker overcome these hurdles. All right, so without any further ado, let's jump right into the 6 hacks that we are going to be discussing about. So the very first hack is be within easy reach of your end users. Now, one of the most frustrating things for end users or customers or anyone for that matter is when you have an issue at hand and it's interrupting with your everyday tasks, and all you want to do is get it rectified so that you can go on with your everyday activities, but there's no way that you're able to get the help that you need. Now, that's the case with Zilker's end users on this particular day. Because their email servers are down, they are not able to reach their IT support teams and get the help that they need. So, this is the first hack that we are going to be talking about. We are also going to be talking about five other hacks in detail as we go on. So, let's see how ServiceDesk Plus's features, and functionalities can help Zilker overcome this hurdle. So obviously the first thing is email. So I'm not discrediting email saying it's not useful. It is definitely a useful means of communication, and this is what most organizations use. And Service Desk Plus does have mail server settings in its admin that can help you convert emails automatically to tickets. And this is what Zilker has been doing. But from Service Desk Plus, we recommend that you implement an omni-channel or a multi-channel approach to ticket logging and communication. Now, this is important because whenever there's one channel that's out of the way or that's not working, your end users have a whole bunch of other options that they can use. So today, the highlight that I would like to put before you is the self-service portal. Now, this is one of the most underused functionalities in IT service desk. We've come to learn this over years of listening in on our client organizations that most of them don't really use the self-service portal to its fullest. But today we are going to see how the self-service portal can really benefit us. This is the technicians portal, and for the self-service portal, I am showing you the requesters portal, and this is the UI. So by default, this is a self-service portal. You have all of these widgets on the top using which your requesters can either raise an issue, or they can ask for a request, or they can even browse through the knowledge base and get resolutions to their own tickets. They also have the option to keep tabs on their requests so that every time they want an update, they don't get come back to your technicians asking for updates. They can also view announcements that have been published for them, and all of these widgets are customizable. You can add or remove these widgets for your requesters portal, and I'm going to show you how in a bit. So how is this advantageous to you as a technician? So if your end users are going to be browsing through the solutions and finding their own resolutions, they are not the ticket flow that comes to your technicians is going to be reduced so much more. That way your technicians workload is lifted. So that's one of the things. And again, if they can track their own statuses in the self-service portal, that eliminates the need for them to keep coming back to the technician asking for updates. So these are some of the ways, a few ways in which you can use the self-service portal to your advantage. Now let me show you how the customization of the requester portal works. So this is the technicians portal and the home page. But to set up, I am jumping right into the admin setup, and here I'm going to be looking for the requester portal. Now, here we are. So, what you see on the screen here is all the configurations that you can make to customize or personalize your requester portal. So, these are actions that you can allow your requester to perform, as in, you can enable reminders for requesters, or you can allow them to reopen requests, and a whole bunch of other actions, which is all pretty self explanatory. But today, I'm shifting your focus to the requester portal customization. So, using this, you can pretty much change the UI of your self-service portal, how you want your requesters to view it. So like I told you earlier, all of these widgets are shiftable. You can easily drag and drop them to organize them. You can remove them. For instance, if you don't want your requesters to view their assets, you can remove that. And if you'd like to add more widgets, you can go to manage widgets, choose the number of columns with which you'd like to see. You can also choose more widgets, search for widgets. You can even add URL widgets to your requesters portal. And when you save and publish, all of these changes are going to reflect in your requesters self-service portal. You can also use this edit button here and change the look You can change the template. Now, Zilka is an advertising company, and I'm pretty sure that their employees are very creative, right? So I'm sure that they'd want their self service portal to reflect the same, to reflect their creativity. So in that case, they have a whole bunch of cool templates that they can choose from, or they can even add their own content. So this is how the self service portal works, and any changes you make in the admin setup will be reflected in the self-service portal. All right, so moving on, we have chat and Zia, which again is in the self-service portal for technicians and requesters alike. Let me take you back to the self service portal and show you what I'm talking about. So, here you see two icons, live chat and Zia. Let me show you how simple it is to use this. So, using live chat, your requesters can send in a message to your technician. Now, it takes about a minute to see if there's a technician who is available to pick up the chat. If not, whatever message that the requester has sent to the technician gets automatically logged as a new request so that whenever the technician is back in office, he'll be able to work on those. And that's how chat works. I'm just quickly moving on to Zia, but before that, maybe I can show you how the live chat. See, this is the chat that the requester had initiated a little while ago. And this is the technician's portal. Okay, so let me go back to the self-service portal and show you how Zia works. Now, what is Zia? Zia is Zoho's internal chatbot, and it's very intuitive. It can help your requesters do a whole bunch of stuff, such as search the solutions. It can suggest solutions for their issues. It can even help them raise new requests. So let me see how this works. Let me show you quickly. See, when I type search, you can search for solutions or you can search for requests by subject. Let me search for requests. So let's say that I have laptop issues, or let me choose network issues. And Zia comes up with a whole bunch of incident templates that I can use. Now, using this, the requester can log the ticket, or if they find a possible solution in the knowledge base, they can use that as well. So all of these are effective ways through which your end users can quickly communicate with your technicians. All right, moving on. The last one that we are going to be talking about under this hack today is integrations with third party apps. Now, just like Zilka, all of us are working from home, and we obviously miss our office chit chats, getting together, being able to discuss things in persons. So we see that more and more people are turning to virtual spaces for such hangouts these days. So Microsoft Teams is one such virtual space that people use to hang out. So what we wanted to do is take our IT service desk right where our end users are. So let me show you how this works. Service Desk Plus has an add-in for Microsoft Teams, which is when downloaded and added in, you will see this is, by the way, the Microsoft Teams UI, and your service desk appears right inside your mailbox. Okay, and you can do requesters can do perform whatever actions they want from right within their mailbox. This is the list of all of the requests in their queue. They can create new incidents, add approvals, or perform all of their service desk activities right here. So this saves a lot of time, and it's so convenient because people are already there. They're already in Microsoft Teams, and it's so much more accessible to them. Likewise, we also have actionable messages in Outlook and even Slack commands that can be used to create requests in Service Desk Plus. All right, with that, we come to the end of the very first hack. I hope this made sense and that you're following me. If you have any questions, please use the questions panel on the left side of your screen and send in your questions. Okay, so let's move on to the second hack, which is capturing every bit of information, every bit of relevant information about the incident. Now, let's say that you are a technician for Zilka. So, how many times have you received an incident that tells you absolutely nothing? All you know about this incident is that the requester has email issues, and that is written as a subject line. You do not know what category it belongs to, what the priority is, or impact or urgency. You don't have any of the information that you need to go ahead and work on this particular ticket. Now, what you'll have to do is you'll have to get back to the requester, communicate with him, get more information, and all this going back and forth with your end user can really eat away time from your productivity. It can also add up to your workload, to your technicians' workload. So let's see how we can use some of the features and functionalities in ServiceDesk Plus to overcome this issue. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to be talking about today is templates. What are templates? Templates are basically forms that you're showing to your requesters to get the information that you need pertaining to a particular incident or ticket that they are sending in. So let's jump right into the technicians portal. Let's go to admin setup and take a look at incident templates. Now, you can create as many templates as you like. Of course, there's no one size fits all when it comes to templates. You will need a whole bunch of templates for the many different kinds of issues that your requesters log in tickets with. So let's take a look at this particular incident template that I've already created. Okay, so on the screen, you see the template, the form, and let me take you through the components of this form. So what you see here are called sections. So what do sections help with? They help you group the information that you are collecting from your requester so that it's easier to read, it's easier to analyze, and it's a bit more organized. So how do you do this? You can add as many new sections as you can simply by dragging and dropping this onto the canvas. Okay, so let me give you a small example. Now, under this section, you see all the details about the request, and therefore you can probably name this as request details. But when you come down here, you see requester's information, and hence this section is named requester details section. So you can use this in however way you'd like it to be, however way it works for you. And under each section, you can add as many fields as you like simply by dragging and dropping them on your canvas. Okay, so the fields available here are, some of them are available out of the box, comes with the application, but some of them are additional fields that you have created in the admin setup. Let me show you how to do that. Let me quickly show you. So I'm opening the admin setup again and looking for additional fields. All right. So we already have so many of them. Now let me show you how simple it is to create one. So give it a field name and you get to choose what type it should be, whether it's numeric or multi-select or whatever you'd like it to be. And if in case this field contains privacy issues or it's something that contains private information, you can always choose to encrypt this field. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do, and when you save the field here, it gets automatically reflected in your list of available fields. But let's say you forgot to add an additional field and you're creating this template and you just want a quick solution. All you got to do is click on new fields and you can create your own additional field right here within the incident template. Now that's convenient, right? So this is one of the ways in which you can use templates to capture every bit of information. Now, let's move on to form rules. So, let me draw your attention to all the tabs here. We'll be talking about tasks a little later, so I'm not going to be talking about that now. So, what does a technician view and a requester view mean? Now, there are templates which you use for both requesters and technicians. But the information that you have to collect from a technician is not the same as the information you collect from your requester. There are differences, right? And you don't want to bombard your requesters with a form that's lengthy and they have to add in so much of information that's overwhelming. So you show your requesters only the relevant information that they need to fill in. So how do you do that? So on each field, you have the option to allow your requester to only view the field, or whether they can set the field, or if it's mandatory. Mandatory means unless they fill this in, they will not be able to submit the request. So you can do this for each and every field. And when you do that, you can go to the requesters view and make sure that you are showing them only the relevant fields. So this is an effective way of collecting not only all the details but also the most relevant details pertaining to an incident. All right, now let's move to form rules. Now the thing about templates is that they are dynamic. Now what do I mean when I say dynamic? So when your requesters are filling out a template, your forms can actually interact with them. And this is achieved using form rules. Let me give you a small example. So I have added two rules for this particular template, which means, let me show you what I've added. So basically, what I'm saying in this rule is that if the category is hardware, you have to show the fields subcategory to your requester. And what this says is if the category is not hardware, you have to hide the subcategory. All right. So here's how you create a new rule. I'm not going to show you all of this. These are condition based actions. I just want to show you how they work on the template. So let me jump to the self service portal and try filling out this template on behalf of the requester. So incident templates, this is the very template we were editing. Let's see how the form rule works here. So if you see the category is here, let me choose hardware and there it is. Immediately the subcategory pops up. Now, if the category is not hardware, the subcategory does not show up. So this is how you can use form rules to make this template more interactive to your end users. All right. With that, we have covered the first three. Let's move on to the next three. The next is the priority metrics. Now, let me open the incident template again. I'd like to explain this with a small trick that you can do. Okay, so let me ask you this question. If you allow your end users or your requesters to set the priority every time they log a request, chances are they are always going to choose either critical or high as the priority. This is human nature, right? Everybody wants their issues to be sorted out first, their tickets to be worked on first. So they're going to end up choosing critical or high, and your technicians are going to face the consequences by having to face a whole bunch of critical and high priority tickets which actually are not. So how do you handle this situation? This is where the priority metrics comes into play. So you go back to admin setup. Let me quickly show you the priority metrics. All right. So what the priority metrics does is that it takes the urgency and the impact of a request and calculates the priority automatically. Now, all of this is customizable. You get to choose what criteria you want to say here. And once you have set it up here in the priority metrics, your request, your incoming request will automatically calculate the priority based on the impact and the urgency that the requester has filled in. So the best practice here would be to make impact as a mandatory field for your requesters, urgency make urgency also a mandatory field for your requesters, and every time your request comes in, the priority gets automatically calculated. So that again helps you capture the correct information, not just any information, but the most relevant information with regards to your incidents. Moving on, let's talk about categories. What are categories? Categories are basically a reflection of your service catalog. That's how it should be. Now, this is not a hardcore rule, but this is a best practice that you keep your categories broader, your subcategories also broad, and you don't bring it down to a very granular level because that can sometimes cause some issues when you're working on tickets or grouping them. So, how do you create these categories in Service Desk Plus? Let's go back to the admin setup, choose for category. Okay, so this is how. So all of these are categories. Hardware is a category. So your subcategories will be laptop or mobile. And under laptop, you can add the items, the actual make of your laptop or whatever you'd like to add. So these are some of the ways that you can use categories to capture information when a request comes in. The last one that we are going to be talking about today is notes, conversations, and attachments. For this, we are going to jump right into the request module in the technicians portal. Let me quickly open a request and show you. All right. So this is an open request. If you see here, you have something called add note. You click on that, and technicians can add whatever information they want to write here within the ticket, so that if they're collaborating with another technician or even your end user themselves can come and see it. This is a way of sharing the information right within the ticket. And we also have something called conversations. Conversations are basically a record of all the communication that has happened pertaining to this particular request, starting from the time that the incident was created to whatever time it is right now. So one of the good things here is that you can even reply to these emails right from this interface. You can choose from a bunch of reply templates as well. So again, these reply templates are configurable. All you got to do is go to admin setup, search for reply templates, and create a new reply template with the template name, subject, and the message, and you save it, and you will find it in the template drop down box. So that's how easy it is to share information from within a ticket. So conversations allows you to keep track of the history of communication that's happened for this request. All right, the last thing is you can also add attachments. So there are times when a request has additional information as attachments, probably a document or an image or whatever you want to upload. You can use attachments here, add it in so that you have all the information that you need pertaining to this particular request right here in one place. All right. I hope you're all following me till here. Let me quickly move on to the next hack, which is automate manual tasks. Now, Zilker on this particular day has email issues. So they're receiving a whole bunch of tickets. People are probably calling in or probably using other means to inform a technician that they are having issues. So they have no workflows in place. This technician has to go analyze the issue and take their list of technicians who are available at that time and then call them up, assign them these tasks, and it's a whole big ordeal that they have to deal with, right? Now, especially if this is a critical priority or this is a high priority incident, then chances are that you're going to lose precious time doing all of these tasks manually. So, how do we use features and functionalities in ServiceDesk Plus to combat this? In the same lines, let's take a look at the first feature, which is Technician Auto Assign. Now, like Zilka, if you're an organization that prefers simple workflows, very straightforward workflows, wherein you receive an incident, you receive a request, and you want it to be assigned to the correct technician, then Technician Auto Assign will be so useful for you. Let's jump into the product again. Go to Admin Setup and search for Technician Auto Assign. There it is. So this is all very self-explanatory. So you can enable this for only incidents or incidents and service requests. You can choose what model you want to use when auto assign is enabled. You can also do a whole bunch of other configurations, and you can even consider technician availability. We'll be talking about technician availability in a bit. So you can make sure that tickets are not assigned to technicians who are not available at that time. You can also choose to exclude certain technicians if they're not within the expertise to handle such incidents. So you can do a whole bunch of configurations here, and your technician auto assign is good to go. The next thing that I'd like to bring to your attention is the priority metrics. Now, we've already talked about this in the previous hack. Now, this is applicable in automations as well, because by only collecting the urgency and the impact from your requester, your priority metrics automatically creates the priority of the ticket. Okay, so let me move on to one of the most significant features here, which is the business rules and custom functions. So, what are business rules? They're basically condition based actions that you can perform on the requests that are coming in. Now, let me explain this to you with a small trick or a small tip that you can use in your service desk. Let me open a new business rule. So these are all the conditions that you can set up, and anytime your request meets one of these conditions, you can set it up to perform a whole bunch of actions. That's how business rules works. And another thing to keep in mind is a business rule executed only when it's created, edited, or deleted. Now, there is a more versatile solution that I'll be talking about in a little bit. So, bear in mind that these are the criteria for a business rule to apply. So, in this case, let's consider there's a critical outage. Okay, and this request is coming in outside operational hours, which means that your technicians are not available to take care of this particular request. So, in such cases, what you can do is you can abort the process execution and send your requester a message that please get in touch with helpline. So, what happens here is, please excuse the spelling. So, what happens here is there is no ticket created. Instead, your requester is going to directly call the helpline, the customer care people who are available 24/7 and get this critical issue sorted out at the earliest. So, it's a win win for everyone, right? Now, if you do not want to take this route, let's say you want to instead execute some custom actions, you can do that too. So, when such a critical outage request arrives, you can choose to have a field update. So let's say that somebody sent in a critical outage template for something else. You can choose to change the category to another field if that's what you prefer. So basically, you're just going to update a certain field in the incoming request. Or you can choose to send out a notification, like you can notify a technician who is an expert in the field so that he will get to the bottom of things at the earliest. Or the next function is you can choose to perform your own actions using custom functions, which is also the next feature that we're talking about. So custom functions does need a little bit of basic coding. So if you know some basic coding, the world is your oyster. There are endless possibilities of what kind of actions you can perform on your incoming requests. So that's about custom function and business rules. And you can just play around and manipulate this and use it to your advantage. Moving on, let's take a look at service level agreements. So every organization has its own service level agreements, right? It's basically the acceptable time within which a request has to be responded to or has to be resolved. Okay, so each organization has its own workflows. Now let's see what we can do with service level agreements in the application. Okay, so here's an SLA. Now, again, let me give you a small example. Let's say that request has come in with a high SLA, as in the SLA time is very short. The response has to be made in 1 hour, and that's a very short SLA for response or resolution. So let's say a request comes in like that. What you can do is instead of allowing the request to breach its SLA, you can set up escalations, and this is applicable for both response and resolution SLAs. And in response, you can add probably escalate to first tier technicians, and resolution, you can escalate to up to 4 tiers of technicians or organization rules. So now here, escalations are not to be taken in a negative way, not to be perceived as complaining about a lower tier technician or anything like that. It's just that it's a best practice to handle such situations in a more effective way so that we preserve the integrity of our organization, right? So that's how you can effectively use service level agreements in ServiceDesk Plus to your advantage. Moving on, let's go to notification rules. Now, every organization has a bunch of notifications that you shoot out to your end users, your technicians, your colleagues, whoever that may be, right? So let's see how notification rules work here. Okay, so you can choose whatever event you want to send a notification to, who you want to send it to. Like, there are a whole bunch of notifications available. Like, if you see that, you can notify a requester when a request is closed, notifications like that. Now you can send these in three different formats. You can either send them as emails or SMS or even push notifications. And also, email templates are absolutely customizable. You can use all these variables available here, and they will automatically pull in the information when the notification gets sent. Again, SMS notification templates are also customizable, and you can do the very same. Now, that's a convenient way of notifying your end users and technicians. Okay, now let's come to triggers. So I had mentioned earlier when talking about business rules that there's a more versatile version of business rules, right? And that is triggers. So I'm going to quickly show you what triggers are. They are also condition based actions that you can perform on your tickets. You can create new triggers here. This is very, very similar to business rules. The exception being, a business rule is executed in a very limited number of circumstances, as in creation, editing, or deletion. But a trigger is more versatile. You can automatically, technicians can automatically trigger rules when needed as well. So that's the difference between business rules and triggers. Now, lastly, let's move on to the request lifecycle, which is one of the more significant features that we can talk about under automation. Now, what is a request lifecycle? It's basically building the workflow of a request from the time of it being logged in until the time of its closure. So we are controlling what stages and what transitions this request has to go through in its life cycle. How is this advantageous? Okay, let me take you to admin setup and request life cycle. Okay, let's request life cycle. Let me open one and show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. You can build the workflow easily by dragging and dropping in statuses from the right side. So these are transitions, these are called transitions, and these are statuses. So basically, a request cannot move on to the next status unless the transition is fulfilled. So that's how this works. Now, how does this benefit you? Let's say that Zilker has a new hire, a new technician who does not have the expertise he needs to probably work on a laptop not working request. In such cases, when you create a workflow for laptop not working using request lifecycle, and if you associate it to the template, this allows your technician to view the workflow that he has to work on. So, for instance, I have an open ticket here, and I hope you can see these. So, this is because of the request lifecycle that has been associated with this particular template. So, when the issue with receiving or sending emails template is used, this is the request lifecycle that the technician has to follow. So even if he cannot communicate with his colleagues, or he has no access to anything to find out what kind of workflow he has to use, he can easily open the ticket and see the workflow right from within this window. So that's how request lifecycle can really help guide your technicians to go through workflows and be much more efficient in their everyday tasks. And lastly, we were talking about form rules. I've already talked about form rules when I talked about incident templates, so I'm not going to be going into that again. But just remember that it is another effective automation functionality that's available for you in the application. All right, I hope you're following me till here. And let's keep going. Let's move on to hack number 4, which is promoting collaboration. Now, again, let's come back to the same work from home scenario that Zilka is dealing with. So, because they don't get to meet around their tables and have discussions and work on workflows, now the exchange of expertise within their technicians is limited. So anytime they want to, they have doubts about a workflow or they don't know how to handle an issue, communicating with another colleague is difficult. So let's see how some of the simpler ways in which technicians can collaborate with other colleagues and leverage their expertise. The first functionality is tasks. Now, tasks are basically smaller workflows within the larger workflow of a request, right? Let's jump into the product. If you can see inside a request, there's something called as tasks. So let's say that these are all the tasks that need to be completed for this particular issue to be resolved. But the technician who's taking care of this request does not have the expertise um, to carry out a certain task. In such cases, what he can do is select the task and assign it to a different technician. That now this moves to Ashwin's list of tasks, and he can take his expertise to finish this particular task. So that tasks are very effective in delegating work to other technicians and getting their expertise. Now the next thing is tech availability chart and delegation. So if we move to when we move to the home page of the technicians portal, we have technician availability chart and delegation right here on the top. So when you click on the tech availability chart, this is basically a calendar that allows you and your technicians to mark their holidays and unavailability, times of unavailability. So if you take a look at this on this particular day, Santa is on leave, but that red dot means that he has not delegated his work to anyone else yet, which means on this particular day, the 27th, if there's a request coming in for Santa, there's no one to work on it because Santa's not available. So we don't want to leave our tickets hanging in space, right? So what we can do is this is where delegation comes into play. So for Santa's leave, what we can do is click on delegate and we can choose to perform a bunch of actions. We can either move the ticket to unassigned or we can choose to delegate the work to another technician or take no action at all. So there's something called global configuration, which again needs to be configured in your admin setup. Just take you to delegation. All right. So the global delegation is basically the basic workflow that you want to have for delegation that applies to all, like a default. It's a default setting. So you can either choose to use the global configuration or you can have your personalized configuration delegation for this particular leave. So this is how you can again use the expertise of other technicians and work in a more effective way. So, lastly, we're going to talk about announcements, notes, and replies. Now, we have already talked about notes and replies. They are right within the request. So, we're going to the request module, opening an email or a request. I can write here, we have add notes, using which you can communicate with other technicians or even your end users. Okay, so I've already talked about this before, so I'm moving on. And then conversations is where replies work. We saw earlier how easy it is to create a reply from right within here and how to create reply templates and use them here. All right, so we've talked about notes and replies. Let's talk about announcements. So announcements are basically, it can be organization wide, like for instance, if you have a server upgrade or some kind of error that you're trying to fix, you can make an announcement instead of having to contact every one of your technicians or every one of your end users and letting them know about the issue. You can make an organization wide announcement using this. You can add a title and a description and schedule it. You can also choose to email your users or who you'd like to view this particular announcement. And if there are attachments, even you can drag and drop them here and save it. Now, once you add a new announcement, based on who you have made it visible to, they will be able to view them. For instance, here, this technician's view, he is able to see all of these announcements. Let's go to the requesters portal and see. Yes, see, These are all the announcements that have been enabled for requesters visibility, and therefore they are able to view it in the self-service portal. So again, announcements are an effective way of collaborating with your colleagues. With that, we've come to the end of the fourth hack, and we are moving on to the fifth one. Fifth hack, which is actually a no-brainer: how to be more resourceful, how to be more efficient in the way you work on your IT requests. Okay, for this, we are going to be looking at features and functionalities such as link and merge tickets. Let's jump right into the product again and see how this works. I'm going to the request module. Let me show you how this works. Okay, so if you can see here, this is a request that Larry has sent in. Now, if you look at all these other requests, they are also by Larry with the same subject, sent one after the other. Now, what's happened here is that Larry is obviously having email issues, so he doesn't get notified that his request has been logged in. So he obviously thinks that his ticket has not gone through, and he proceeds to send in a flurry of emails, a flurry of requests. And now the technician has to deal with each and every one of these requests individually and close them. So that's very painstakingly time consuming, and it takes away from their efficiency and productivity, right? So what you can do is, in such situations, you can choose all of the duplicate requests that have been sent in by Larry and merge them. So what you can do is, you can select one of the requests as the parent request. Maybe one request has some extra information. Maybe the first request that he sent in has more information than the rest. If that's the case, you can choose that to be the parent, and all the other duplicates will become the child. So what happens when you merge them? What happens is they all become one big ticket. And your technician now has to work on only one request instead of four. So that's a very effective way of using merge tickets. Now, let me show you another instance. Let's take a look at this request and these two. Now, these are very similar requests. They have been raised for the same issue, but by different requesters. One is from Dave, one is from Ashley, and of course, the first one was raised by Larry. So in this case, all of these can't be merged because they are from different requesters. So in this case, what you can do is, you can choose these requests and also the merged requests, and you can link them. So what happens here is, the oldest request, the first request that was logged in pertaining to this particular issue, becomes the parent, and everything else gets added in as the child. So when your technician is working on this linked request, as soon as he resolves that one parent request, everything else gets resolved in one shot. So these are some of the ways in which you can be more efficient using these little features and functionalities that are available in the application. Moving on, let's take a look at solutions. So you know that in ServiceDesk Plus we have a separate module dedicated for solutions, which is the knowledge base. So it's so easy to add a new solution, click the title, contents. Basically, when you have a resolution that is going to work for similar requests in the future, you can simply add it to the knowledge base and store it there, so that anybody who works on similar requests in future, all they have to do is search through the knowledge base and get the resolution. So that makes your team work more efficiently, right? Now you can simply add new solution, and if this solution is applicable to requesters as well, you can also publish it in the self-service portal. So this is how you create solutions. Now let me show you another thing. So when your requester is trying to log an issue, there's something called auto suggest. So it's important to add keywords to your solution, so that, sorry, let me just, okay. So I search for network, then the auto suggest automatically works from solutions. And if this solution is applicable to the requester, all they have to do is look at the resolution and be done with it. And they are not going to go ahead and send in that ticket. So this is again taking the load off of your IT support team. So that's how solutions work. And let's move on to the next feature, which is rather new, which is the Kanban view that's available for technicians. So in the technicians portal, we have this activities tab. Now, this is a list of all the tasks that are lined up for this particular technician, right? Now, here's something called the Kanban view. This is the list view, and we have something called the Kanban view. Now, what this does is it gives your technician a bird's eye view of all the tasks that are lining up in his queue. So, this enables him to keep tabs on his tasks better, and he can even work on tasks right from this window. All he has to do is, let's say he wants to move this particular ticket to a high priority ticket. All he has to do is drag it and drop it, and the priority gets updated automatically to high. So this is how efficient the Kanban view is. Technicians can create, group whatever kinds of filters they want to use while viewing their tasks, and do a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So that's about the Kanban view. And these are some of the ways in which you can be more resourceful. All right, let's move on to the last and final hack of the day, which is evaluating your performance. Now, all of us know that there's no room for improvement unless we know how we are performing, right? So Zilker has the same problem. They have a whole bunch of data at hand that they have collected. They know how much time their technicians are spending. They have work logs. They have all of this data, but they do not know how to draw results from all of this data. So that's what we are going to look at here in evaluating your performance. So let's go back into the application, and we have a separate module for reports. It is so easy to create reports in ServiceDesk Plus. There are a whole bunch of reports available out of the box. So let me show you what this report looks like. All you gotta do is choose the category, and there you have it. You can even choose to have a pictorial representation of your data, and here's all the information that you need pertaining to this particular report. Now you can save this report, or you can even schedule it to be sent out on a regular basis, like say monthly or weekly or yearly, or whatever applies to your organization. Or you can even directly click on mail this report and send it to whoever you want to send it to. So that's how convenient requests are. Now, in addition to having all of these out of the box reports, you can even create your very own custom report. And these can be created in many different ways, such as tabular, metric, summary, or scanned reports. You can even view a drill down analysis. You can go into the nitty gritty and depths of how your IT support team is performing using the drill down analysis. And you can create query reports, or like I had previously mentioned, you can even schedule reports. So that's how efficient the reports module is in the application. And then we're going to be talking about dashboards. So on the technicians portal, we have the dashboard on the home page. So as you can see, the dashboard is a very effective way of giving the big picture to your technicians. Instead of having to go report by report, your technician can take a look at the dashboard, and understand how many items are open, how many requests are open, or how many have missed SLA, or how many SLA violated requests are there. A whole bunch of information simply by looking at the dashboard. And you can also create custom dashboards to your preference. All you got to do is customize, and you can choose to make it either private or public for other technicians to view as well. And today I'm going to the requests, and I'm choosing a whole bunch of widgets, update layout, and all of these are shown. So creating your very own customized dashboard is simple as well. So that's about dashboards. How easily dashboards show you the metrics and the performance of your team. And then we are moving to surveys. So now, metrics and reports basically are data that you derive, that you take to analyze yourself. So, what happens when you want to find out what your end users think about you, what your customers and requesters think about you? Now, that's more important than self analysis, right? So, how do you achieve that using Service Desk Plus? Again, let's go to the admin setup and search for surveys and see how that works. So this is how you can create surveys. In the application, you can define new surveys, add the kind of questions that you want to ask your requesters. You can take feedback from them, and you can even choose to set up the satisfaction levels, like whether it's poor or good or excellent, what they felt about the way the technician handled their request, and a whole bunch of stuff. So when you have your survey results, it's easier to get an understanding of what your customers think about you and where you really need to improve or where you're really good at. In this way, you and your IT support team can always stay on top and be the best and provide the best assistance that you can for your end users. Now we are almost done. We have come to the very last feature and functionality that we are going to be talking about today, which is the time analysis. So, time analysis, where do we find this? We have to jump back to the request module for technicians, open a ticket, and right there you have the time analysis. So, what this basically does is it shows you a timetable of all the things that have happened, the time taken for each transition to happen, for each status to change, and how much of time your technician has spent on this particular ticket. And all of that summary is right here for you, so that you can always come back and see where you can improve, how you can cut down time, where you can cut it down, where you can improve your efficiency so that you don't spend so much time in one particular area and you can do a whole bunch of stuff. This is again one of the most effective ways of evaluating your team's performance. So, with that, we have come to the end of the sixth hack as well. We've talked about six incident management hacks today. Let me give you a short recap of each one of those. So, the first hack was to ensure that your help desk is always available for your end users wherever they are, using channels, using a multi channel approach with self service portal, email, Microsoft Teams, chat, Zia, and so on. The second hack that we saw today is recording and capturing all the information and the most relevant information about a particular request early on, so that your technicians can be more efficient on resolving their requests. The third hack that we saw is about automating monotonous tasks or repetitive tasks using business rules and SLAs and technician auto assign. The fourth hack that we talked about was collaborating with your colleagues and getting expertise from other team members so that we can leverage the cumulative expertise that we have as an IT support team and thereby improve our service delivery. And then the fifth hack that we talked about was how to improve your productivity using linking requests, merging requests, solutions, and also the Kanban view. And the last hack that we talked about was making informed business decisions using reports, surveys, time analysis, and dashboards, and many more, so that you can evaluate your performance and your team's performance and improve in areas where you need to improve. So I really hope that you were able to pick up good tips and tricks from this presentation. I hope that you were able to understand the features and functionalities. Great. I really hope that you all enjoyed this session and all your questions were answered. And we're really glad that you joined us for this webinar. So take care and see you another time. Thank you. Thank you all.